I've bought to swap out. So these are the spark plugs. If you got the 2003 to 2006, you're gonna want the laser iridium NGK spark plugs. These are a little bit more expensive, but hell, I mean, it's such a pain in the ass to get to on your bike. So why, kind of go budget and then may have to swap them out with more frequency. To hell with that noise, So I got the nicer ones. That's the model number there, IMR9C9HES, and that's straight out of this Climber manual. So you'll actually see here, I might as well do this. So one of these first pages here will give you all the factory recommendations and specs and all that shit. I'm gonna hover there for a second so you can pause the video. One thing I want to point out is I see a lot of people saying to get 10W30 viscosity oil. As you can see here, factory, it says 10W40. So that's one thing I want to point out. A lot of people are saying 10W30, enough to actually get me to purchase it right here. So I've actually put that in the bike already. I'm gonna have to drain it out. So that's the thing too. I don't know enough about bikes to say this is gonna destroy your bike or anything like that. I'm just someone who wants to go factory spec. And a lot of people are saying factory spec is 10W30 in the forums and a couple videos that I saw on YouTube. So just to clear the airwaves on that one, boom, there it is. So that's the first page. And then there's also some like torque specs and all that stuff. Spark plugs, you'll see. NGK, IMR9C9HES. Oh, so that's a good thing to point out. I just fact check myself. So the 2003 to 2004 models, you want the IMR9C9HE spark plugs by NGK. If you got the 2005 to 2006, you want the same part number but with an S at the end. So that's what I have. So that's what I've picked up. These are all the torque specs here. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start digging into this. The first things I'm gonna do is the air filter oil or the ignition coils, and then the spark plugs. And then after that, I'm gonna try to start diagnosing some of the electrical stuff, which is why I got this little test light. You can press up against the wires and it will indicate, if it's a running light, it's just gonna stay on constantly. If you turn your left blinker on, it's gonna, start blinking this light, and so on and so forth. The brake light, once you pump the light, it'll turn on. So that's a good tool to have. I want to say it was like $7 off Amazon. I got a soldering iron here. So for any of the wires that I'm going to be, chances are I don't want to spend money on these little connector pieces. I found them online for like, I don't know, $5 to $7 for a 2-pack, but I don't know. I'm cheap as hell, and I got a soldering iron, and I think it's gonna create a better connection anyway, I would imagine. So anyway, I'm gonna slowly chip away into this stuff, and I'll take you guys along with me. On Tuesday, I've got new fairings coming in. This is a 2006 model. The colorway, they're custom fairings that I'm getting from ntfairing.com, and it's got the like 2013 to, I want to say 2016 or possibly even 2020. I don't know when the color scheme got discontinued, but it's it makes it look much more new because it's I'm going to be using factory colors. and a lot of people don't know shit about bikes. So, not that I'm going to sell this thing like that. I just want to make that clear. But, you know, as I'm riding around, they're going to be like, oh shit, it looks like a newer bike. And that's what I want. So anyway, guys, go ahead and click on my channel if you guys are interested on any of that stuff. Ignition coils, spark plugs, oil change, you know, coolant change. What else am I going to be doing? You know, rewiring the headlights, rewiring the brake lights and turn signals in the back, and so on and so forth. Next step's gonna go ahead and be to drop this radiator. So I'm gonna have to pull this hose off here, and then there's gonna be some coolant in here. So we're gonna put an oil pan down here to catch all the fluids. And to drop the actual radiator itself, there's gonna be 3 bolts. One on this side here, on the bottom, and then there's gonna be one on each side of the top. So one, then one on that side. And that should give us the ability to drop this down and then be able to have more clearance in here to reach the coils and the harness and all that. Pull those out, and then the spark plugs are beneath that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put you on a time lapse. All right, guys, so as you could see in the time-lapse video, you saw that I had loosened this clamp up and then tried to pull this off, but I was having some trouble with it, so I re-tightened it and moved over to the other side, thinking I could just disconnect this one, which is on the left side of the bike, by the way. I was thinking I could disconnect this one on the top left, and it would give me enough clearance, but that wasn't the case. I did have to circle back around to this side and then loosen this one and drop it. So just a heads up, I don't think you have to disconnect this top one, just to save you guys some time. On the right side of the bike, you'll be disconnecting the lower right hose, and then on the left side of the bike, the only hose that goes to the radiator, and that will drop enough to get you able to go in there. So now what we're going to be doing is disconnecting these little clips here, pulling them off, and then trying to pop out the ignition coils. Beneath the ignition coils are going to be the spark plugs. So once you get the ignition coils out, you're going to use a special socket for a spark plug. In my case, 5/8, or our case, I suppose. And it's got a little like rubber grommet inside to grip the spark plug. So make sure you got that. Other tools that you may need are extension, not this long, by the way, but I bought this off Amazon. It's like a universal joint socket wrench set. So from my understanding, we'll need the 3/8 socket, which kind of pivots any which way you want, and then a 2 or 3 inch bar connection just to a standard ratchet. So I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys set up on a time lapse, and again, you're gonna be seeing me take off these clips, pop these up. I don't believe they're threaded in, it's just like kind of pushed in there snug on top of the spark plug. So you just use like a little I don't know, screwdriver, not a screwdriver, maybe something softer like made of wood, a ruler or something, to pop this up. And then inside the hole is where you'll drop that spark plug socket to start unwinding the spark plugs. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll check back in with you guys. Excuse me. So I don't know if you could tell from the time lapse, but I was able to get the clips undone and then the first ignition coil out. I put the socket in there and I was able to, you know, undo the spark plug, but it sits so far down in there that I'm having trouble fishing it out. So, you know, my fingers, I can touch it, but I can't seem to, my finger's too fat to put, you know, alongside it to pull it up along the wall, if that makes sense. So I read online that you can use a magnet to fish it out. So I went ahead to Home Depot and I bought a magnet. And so it's like it's pretty long. I didn't think it was gonna fit in there, but I said, well, that's the only one they got. I don't really have much choice. So I'm just gonna show you guys kind of what to do here. So let me set you up. Trash can. Okay. So now I should be able to just put this down in there and connect to it. And then snag that thing and pull it out. Boom. So, Jesus, doing too many things at once here. So as you can see, I don't know much about spark plugs, but that thing looks burnt like a moog. So I don't know what that's coming from. There's even some residue on there. In this manual, as a matter of fact, they have little diagnosing area. So let me see if I could try to find it. Cooling system, electrical system, brake system, transmission, internal gear shift, mechanism, lower end, top end, troubleshooting. So I don't know, maybe number 2. Yeah, I remember it being right here in the front though. So let's see if we can find it together. These are all the tools. Troubleshooting. Lord have mercy. No spark to all 4 spark plugs. I think that's it right there. Carbon fouled, gap bridged, overheated, oil fouled, sustained pre-ignition. So that looks like it's broken, the arc there. This one is just kind of oil. Mine looks like it's carbon fouled. So let's see if there's anything that it says about carbon fouled. Inspect the electrode for wear, burning condition, or damage. If the electrode is contaminated with deposits, replace the spark plug. If the center electrode is worn off. Blah 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 blah. Carbon fouled. Soft, dry, sooty deposits covering the entire firing end of the plug are evidence of incomplete combustion. Even though the firing end of the plug is dry, the plug's insulation decreases when it's in this condition. The carbon foul forms an electrical path that bypasses the spark plug electrodes, causing a misfire condition. One or more following can cause the carbon fouling: rich fuel mixture, which may have something to do with the power commander, cold spark plug heat range, clogged air filter, which I'm going to be switching. I haven't read this, by the way. This is just by coincidence that I'm coming across this shit. Improperly operating ignition component. So that might have something to do with that ignition module that's in the rear seat. So I'm gonna have to check that out as well. Ignition component failure, low engine compression, prolonged idling. Okay, so I can't tell if, I don't think there's oil on there because it rubbed off onto my hand actually, so pretty sure it's carbon fouled, sooty deposits. That makes sense. So if you guys have any of the other issues here, you can pause it and read yours. So mine's carbon fouled. So I'm gonna go ahead and set a bookmark on this for later reference. So as I pull them all out, I can kind of check it out. Matter of fact, I'll just leave this open. Let's just put this here. Bow. All right, guys. So I'm gonna continue replacing these, and I'll put you back on a time lapse. Okay, so as you can see in the time lapse, I've gone ahead and replaced all of the coils. They're brand new. Replaced all the clips on there, and you know, obviously the spark plugs down below as well. So the next step would be to reconnect the radiator here on this side, and then this side as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and mount it back up onto these brackets. You know, the screws here, one on each side, and then there's one on the bottom too. I don't know where the hell it's at right now, but so let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put you back on the tripod, aka the trash can. So as you may have noticed in the time lapse, I was having issues with these hoses here. My recommendation would be to basically mount the radiator up while the hoses are disconnected. You know, just the bolt up there and then the bolt down there. I thought this was a bolt on this side, but it actually turns out that it's like just a little notch basically. So it's like a pin like this that you slip the, you know, radiator over to hold it in place, and then you bolt it on this side so it draws that one closer to the bar, to the peg basically, and holds it in place. So my apologies on that. So one bolt up here, one bolt down there, and then reconnect the hoses, and you should be good to just pour some coolant in here and start the bike if that's where you're stopping. But for me, I'm going to continue and disconnect. I'm going to remove the ECU and then remove the air box to get to the air filter, because I've purchased a new one that I'm going to drop in. So stay tuned if you guys are interested in finding out how to do that as well. It's pretty easy actually. It's just a couple bolts here, as you can see, Phillips. All right guys, stay tuned.